In the Public Service Commission hearings, it was determined by the PSC staff, Barry Scheingold, who works for New Energy, he's a consultant, technical consultant for the PSC staff, that this will add $1.34.
I have to object. He's relying on his description of what somebody said at a previous hearing, the PSC hearing. I'm not aware that there's a document in the record that supports that, and I object to Mr. Stevens' testimony in this regard as hearsay.
The document is in the, it's called Public Service Commission Staff
Mr. Stevens, please.
If I could just clarify one point going forward, when an objection is made by one of the attorneys for the parties, if the person who's testifying could just stop and wait for the parties to argue with respect to the objection and give the board an opportunity to respond. I think we're at the point where an objection's been made. And I don't know if Mr. Schell for Diamond State wants to add anything to what Mr. Phillips
I'll be going to Mr. Phillips' objection.
And Mr. Nichols, you have an opportunity to respond to the objection. I'd like to.
We're going to ask Mr. Stevenson to just testify based upon his analysis of the economic benefits associated with the Bloom fuel cell project and limit the testimony to just those areas. And the question I wanted to ask, I'm trying to tell, do you agree?
Let me just stop you.
I'm sorry.
Does that address the concerns of counsel for Diamond State and DNREC?
Well, I guess it depends on what the next question will be.
Right. Go ahead. What are you going to do then? If you have an objection, you're of course free.
Just focusing on your area of expertise and your study of the subject application. Do you agree with DNREC's findings? Earlier, Mr. Schell objected to the findings, opinions, and orders of the Delaware Public Service Commission. Now he's trying to introduce those same orders as part of his cross. Why would we? I object to that. If we're going to allow his cross to be based upon materials that I've already said we shouldn't include in the hearing, then I'm going to ask that Mr. Stevenson be allowed to testify on the basis of those same materials.
I guess for the purpose of dealing with the admissibility of the documents, it does make sense for the board to have the documents in front of them so they can just look at it and make a decision on whether it's going to be going into the record. So we will give to each board member the documents that Mr. Schell wants to move into evidence, but to the extent there's an objection to a particular document, we'll roll on that.
Well, my objection is based upon his prior objection to Stevenson being
I understand. I'm going to ask Mr. Schell to go ahead and give binders of your exhibits that you give to each board member.
I thought you didn't want me to get my exhibits out. I thought that's what I heard you say. And I'm happy to question this witness without presenting other exhibits in front of the.
Yeah, I think you probably can go ahead and give to each board member your exhibits. That's not.
I want to respond. I believe the point of Mr. Stevenson's testimony is to say there was better technology that should have been that should be used instead of the fuel cell technology that's related to our project.
Now, I withdraw my testimony in that respect with respect to Mr. Stevenson and said that we'd only speak to the economic issues based on his objection of Mr. Stevenson testifying with respect to the findings of the Public Service Commission. So I don't see where this exhibit is relevant to the proceedings. He will not be offering, he has not, nor will he be offering any testimony regarding economic dispatch of the generation sources. I've withdrawn that testimony. I said we're not going to talk about that.
I'm not sure what that is.
You objected to Mr. Stevenson speaking to economic dispatch. Economic dispatch, which would be the next logical generation of electricity and generation in the grid. And you wouldn't allow him to comment on any findings from the Public Service Commission. I withdrew that question. And I said we will not address anything that was discussed at the Delaware Public Service Commission because, as you correctly noted, it is hearsay. Now you're asking that that same information, which I've already acknowledged is in fact hearsay, be admitted as part of your cross.
Okay, let me just interrupt if I can. I'm sorry. I think we've heard the argument with respect to the objection. It sounds to me as it's basically a relevance objection. And I'm going to recommend to the board, again, it's up to the board, but I'm going to recommend to the board that the board accept the exhibit into evidence.
I'm going to shift gears and ask Mr. Stevenson. You said there's a $10 million loss. Do you have a chart that shows that?
Yes, it's the, I have my own copy of it. It's not an exhibit. I have done the analysis myself.
You've done an analysis, and you believe this board should just believe that you've done an analysis and it's $10 million.
I would be happy to give you more details. In the name of brevity, I did not, but I would be happy to I can give you from memory what's in the document.
What are the details? Give me some details.
Well, I'd be happy to. Fuel cell power, this particular facet that's being built at Red Lion will cost $221 per megawatt hour. The Delmarva Power currently buys power for around $90 per megawatt hour from the grid. So there is a premium being paid. The premium persists through the entire 21 years of contract, although it becomes less in future years. There is a residual premium price that works out to about $1.34 per megawatt hour. It is applied to every customer of Delmarva Power, which is about 8.6 million megawatts per year. So it's simply a matter of simple arithmetic. Take $1.34 times the power, and you come up with 11.5 million for the total 30 megawatts of power being proposed. But since it's only 27 megawatts currently being built, you have to reduce it. It comes to about 10.5 million.
The amount and cost of this project to ratepayers was the subject of a hearing before the Public Service Commission, correct?
Correct.
And the tariff was approved at that hearing, correct?
Correct.
And the rates that are going to be paid by ratepayers for this project and for this facility have been approved by the Public Service Commission, that's right?
That's correct.
And that tariff was adopted in response to legislation that was adopted by the General Assembly, correct?
That's correct.
And you, and when I say you, I mean the Caesar Rodney Institute, opposed that tariff in October when there was a hearing on the tariff, correct?
That's correct.
And you have not, or CRI has not appealed that decision, am I right?
No.
Thank you.
Mr. Stevenson, did the Public Service Commission consider the net economic effects in arriving at their vote to approve the feed-in tariff, or did they just, did they consider the net economic effects in approving the tariff? Can you tell us how it is that the Commission went about making the decision to allow the feed-in tariff to go ahead?
Fuel Cell Act
I
required.
have to object, I'm sorry. The document has been admitted in evidence. It speaks for itself. I don't think it's proper for Mr. Nichols to ask Mr. Stevenson to interpret what the Public Service Commission said. The Commission said what they said. It's in writing.
With all due respect, the only thing I'm trying to do is, since the council from Bloom has brought up the testimony that was given at the Public Service Commission, the decision that was made at the Public Service Commission, I think it's important that the commissioners understand why they made the decision that they did. It's a matter of public record. Let me rephrase the question. What was the basis that was given to the Public Service? What was the criteria that was given to the Public Service that they had to base their decision on? Did it have anything to do with the net economic effects of citing fuel cells, solid oxide fuel cells in Delaware?
Fuel Cell Act required the PSC look at two factors. One,
Same objection.
I think that, again, my advice to the board is that the question does appear to be asking for information that can be easily gleaned from reading the decision. It's up to the board whether they want to sit here and listen to someone else summarize what the decision that's the main part of the record says. My recommendation is that the objection should be sustained.
Mr. Stevenson, is there a legal requirement in Delaware that power companies increase their use or reliance of renewable energy?
Yes, there is.
And
Oh, the renewable portfolio thing.
and is the Bloom project a renewable source of energy as determined by the General Assembly?
Excuse me, objection. This is not the Delaware Public Service Commission. This is the Delaware Coastal Zone Industrial Board. What decisions were made at the Delaware Public Service Commission are not under discussion today. What is under discussion today is the handling of this application by the Department of Natural Resources. Are you now going to act, is this commission now going to act as if they were the Delaware Public Service Commission? I don't
Mr.
think
Nichols,
so.
I have no idea how you got that.
He's asking.
He asked him a question, let him answer it.
I object.
Mr. Phillips, do you have a response to the objection?
I'm not sure if I understand the objection or the response. No, I'll leave it up to the board.
Yeah,